of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I call the meeting to order at 6:39. And we're going to start out tonight with the 2024 budget hearing. So I call the budget hearing to order specifically, and we're going to have a presentation by Dawn Ray.
Hello. All right. In front of you, you have a copy of our notes to taxpayers. This is what the DLGF refers to as the Form 3. So this has our budget information for 2024 as a reminder. All of our budgets run calendar year, so January 1 through December 31. So it's fun to make these numbers match up with our school years. So anyway, so what we've got is tonight is our public hearing. This is where we will present the information here. We will give the public a chance to speak. And at our next meeting in October is when you all will do your final action of adopting the budget. So on here, just so we see, our school tax levy as presented by the state is $5,775,562. Our estimated property tax cap is $5,400. We are asking to appropriate our rainy day fund at $1 million. Debt service of $5,650,332. Reminder of in that is our new GEO bond will close on in 2023, and we have to estimate high those payments until we go through the complete financial process to have our hard payments set as to what we will pay for next year. So that brings that appropriation. Education amount of $13,653,000 and operations $7,180,000. The estimated levy to be raised will be for two funds only. Debt service $5,750,000. Once again, that is estimated high, very high right now, until we have our numbers that come in as to what we will need for next year. So it will be the amount of payments that we will be paying in 2024, plus a very small increment of our first half of 2025. That's what that levy makes up. And then operations fund is the only other thing that we can ask for a levy in. And we're advertising we will adopt $5,780,000, which is slightly over what our state max is. So just as a reminder, on our levies, we ask for above what we're allowed to have, and we let the state bring us down as to the maximum allowed. And that way we have all of our bases covered. Do we have any questions on any of this?
Okay. You guys questions? All right, I think we're good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any comment from the public or from the audience? I think you're the only non-employee.
I'm good.
Okay, all right, very good. So having no comments from the public, I am going to adjourn the 2024 budget. We're done. Is there, do I need to do a motion? Probably do. Is there a motion to adjourn the 2024 budget hearing? Is there a second? All right, any discussion? Let's do roll call.
Amy?
Yes.
Carol? Yes. Vicki?
Yes.
Stephanie? Doug?
Yes.
All right. All right, so we're now going to call to order our regular agenda. Are there modifications to the agenda?
Yes, there are a few modifications. I will read them all together, summarize all of the modifications, and then ask you to move forward with them as presented rather than going through each one individually. I have added the modification to discuss two items. I would like to discuss House Bill 1447, which includes the procedures and policy to review any instructional materials in our district. And then I would also like to be able to discuss the community engagement survey. We have the following action needed items presented as modifications. One, to recommend approval of the ESC wall project. and approve the final bid, which is from Driftwood Builders. And the recommendation to compensate Elizabeth Hill for providing training in regards to Brown County Schools Health and Wellness from her resignation through November 21st of 2023. And then we have the consent agenda items, just a few cleanup. We have for the appointment of John Tiernan, it is not a replacement for Heather Still, but rather Jim McFall. For 7th grade boys basketball coach Josh Hawley, we had an incorrect stipend, so you can see the correct stipend there. And then 5th grade girls basketball coach, we had an incorrect last name and wanted to add that it was a replacement for Heather Still. And then we removed the incorrect 7th grade boys basketball coach Josh Hawley.
Is there a motion to approve the modifications?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have some questions on the ESC.
Okay, hold on a second. This is just, we're approving the modifications that we're going to talk about
Oh.
tonight.
Go ahead.
Okay, and then we'll actually get into the topics of each one.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay, so let's do a roll call on accepting the modifications to the agenda.
Amy,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Vicky, yeah, Doug.
Yes.
Okay. So now we have a time for recognition of visitors and comments from the audience. Hello, audience. Anything from the audience tonight? Nope, just onlookers. So, okay, very good. Let's move on. Under presentation, nothing. Great. Great. And then under discussion, then we have these two items that Emily wanted added to the list. So we're going to talk about House Bill 1447 and procedures to review material.
Yes, thank you. So House Bill 1447 was new legislation that was passed through the last legislation period. And basically, it's the law that says by January 1st, all schools must have a policy in place for parents or community members to be able to review instructional materials and have a complaint process or ask the school to review it. Tonight, I wanted to be able to discuss what our current policy says and a consideration form that's been recommended and just open it up for discussion with the board. I've asked Brian Baum to be here with us tonight. He was a key stakeholder in developing the current policy that we have. So I asked him to be here in case we had questions that I could not answer. So if you could take a copy of the current policy and then a copy of review. And then I'll just review the current policy, which is 9130. The title of this policy is Public Complaints and Concerns. If you look towards the back, you have matters regarding instructional materials. You see that?
Yeah. On with page 2.
Yeah. So superintendent prepares administrative guidelines to ensure students' parents are adequately informed each year regarding their right to inspect instructional materials and having a procedure for completing such an inspection. You can see criticism is to be addressed to the principal in writing, includes author, title, publisher, and complaint. And then if you go further down the policy, specific subjects by page, item, reasons for the objection. Upon receipt of the information, the principal may, after advising the superintendent of the complaint and upon the superintendent's approval, appoint a review committee, which may consist of one or more professional staff members, one or more board members, one or more laypersons knowledgeable in the area. Superintendent shall be an ex officio member of the committee. The committee, in evaluating the question material, should be guided by the following criteria, which is the appropriateness of the material for the age and maturity level of the students, accuracy, objectivity of the material, and the use being made of the material. Material in question may be withdrawn from use pending the committee's recommendation to the superintendent. Committee's recommendation shall be reported to the superintendent in writing within 15 business days. Superintendent will advise the complainant in writing of the committee's recommendation and advise the board to take action of the action taken or recommended. They may appeal that decision within 30 business days to the board through written request to through the superintendent. The board will review the case, advise the complainant in writing of its decision within 30 days. That's our current policy. Brian, help me with this. The House Bill 1447 clearly states that the school district must have a policy that outlines a process for a parent or community member to provide complaint or want something removed. I also believe that the new legislation states that we have to have a list of our materials easily accessible online.
Yes, our entire catalog of everything that is available to students has to be available online. We're already compliant with that. Our library catalog is accessible. Where we are not compliant with the new legislations, we also have to have the material consideration form available for download on our school site. We have this form available if someone comes in currently and has a concern. We've always been able to hand them a hard copy, but it needs to be accessible online. Other than that, we are pretty much compliant with the new legislation as we are. We really, not to toot my own horn, but this was a graduate school project I did when I was getting my library science degree, was the policy we have in place. So this earned me an A in my library public policy course. And the good news is that the new law is pretty much this. We just have to have what we already have in place, with the exception of having the form also accessible.
So this form is supposed to be on the website?
Yeah.
Okay. Currently, whether it's on the website or mailed in, okay, who would it be addressed to? Because it just says Brown County Schools.
Right, because this is a generic form for all buildings.
Right.
So it would go to the building principal. If it returned to the White House, then it would be forwarded to who. So it starts at the building level. With the individual principal will deal with the first. Ideally, the process is somebody comes in and complains, they talk to a building principal or to a library professional, and if they're not satisfied with the response, then they go to the form. Once the form is submitted, then the building principal will convene the review committee to read the book and to look at the concerns. And then if the person is still not satisfied at that point, it's referred to the building principal again, the superintendent, and then the board level.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Do you have quite a few complaints or not, or what? I mean,
In 18 years, I've had one. And once we explained our policy, they're like, fine, I just don't want my kid reading it. And so we put a note in the child's file. It was very fine. And they weren't concerned about the content, they just thought it was poorly written and didn't want their child wasting time reading it. But that was the only one, and it didn't even go to convening the committee or writing the form. So I realize the world is changing and more people are concerned about these things. But as of now, I've not had to deal with all of these.
There was a discussion earlier about every book in the building, and I'm thinking about those elementary schools that have all those itty bitty little books. Is that, I thought that was part of the law. Do we have to catalog those and include them as part of the library?
Ideally, yes. Classroom libraries are probably where we could be getting into a gray area. What would have to happen is that individual teachers would have to keep out, on their Canvas site or whatever, a list of materials that are in their classroom that aren't cataloged in the library system. In a lot of cases, for example, well, I know Huntsburg specifically, almost all the classroom books are books that are library cataloged that the teachers check out for a semester, for the year, so we have a record of that. In other areas, I honestly can't tell you what's in an individual teacher's classroom. And again, that could be the gray area.
But this policy, like anybody could come in and like from doing Tracy's classroom and want to use this policy to review a book that I may have sent home with the kiddo, right? Just because I don't have it cataloged on the website, they still get to follow this
Yeah, exactly.
policy.
And the other tweak with the law, prior to those laws going into effect in January, it wasn't specific as to who could challenge the material. It now has to be someone who is resident in the county or is a stakeholder in the schools. So it could be a staff or student or their families. But it can't just be some third party who's trolling catalogs nationwide. They have to have someone in district file a complaint.
So if we have a Bartholomew County students coming here, that would qualify.
Then they could, yes.
Right.
But a resident of Bartholomew County couldn't just look at our catalog and say, hey, I hate this book.
Just. the
Or
kid
someone
that-
from
kid-
Arizona.
Yeah, exactly.
So do we need to change our policy to reflect that? That it has to be, I don't think it says here. Who can?
I don't know whether we need to say that. That is the provision of the bill.
When I see on the form you have
Yeah, there's
You
a,
represent
who are you
yourself
representing? but-
or an organization. What about ebooks? Do we have, I know we use the public library for some ebooks, but do you have your own?
No, we currently maintain, we have some academic materials that are maintained, but it's available for anyone to see what electronic resources we have. But we don't have ebooks per se. We piggyback off the public library. Living in their other programs.
Or
Yeah,
maybe-
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
First, what would have is if any teacher brought in additional books into the classroom, they need to be providing that list to the principals?
To be compliant with show.
Yes.
And so you said that's the gray area, so maybe the immediate next step is for us to get this reconsideration form posted on the website so it's easily accessible. And then maybe the next discussion item at a future board meeting would be to discuss what is that process for classroom teachers. Because I would like to have the opportunity to talk with teachers and the building principals and figure out a process. I'm sure, it'll be in collaboration. And then to be able to present it back for board discussion at a later date.
Anyway, I think this was nice.
Thank you
very much. I think
To
it's
be
well
fair,
done.
I pretty much lifted it, used the resources of the American Library Association and then altered it first.
It went in one side and it
Yeah,
came out the other.
I added the Brown County seal and our address.
Well, we
But yeah, this is a boilerplate form that is vetted by the American Library Association lawyers, so that made me feel fairly.
It does ask the questions that need to be asked.
Yeah.
I remember the title of the bill was Materials Harmful to Minors, talks about obscenity and the definition of obscenity. That's not in the policy. Do you think it needs to be there? We're just talking about the process. There's a little bit here at the end that I don't think you read that was about it, something may be unpopular or offensive to some. But again, when we're reviewing the book, are we going to be reviewing it on the obscenity standard?
Yeah, we actually have a little crib sheet that the reviewers have that kind of discusses that. To be fair, the law is pretty broad. I was concerned before I read it that as long it has to be pervasive. it can't just be one scene or one phrase that is offensive. It has to be pervasive throughout the work, and the work has to be without any literary merit. So as long as you can justify that it's A, not pervasive, or B, has some literary merit, and it can be something that's important, it's won an award. And in fact, most of our probably more controversial things we have in our school libraries are Caldecott Award winners, Prince Award winners. Right, so
There was literary, scientific, there were like 4 words, I think, that it had to have some other type of artistic, I think, value. So that when that could be, so that's what the committee, then that would be the standard that committee would be using.
Exactly.
So we don't need to put that specific in the policy.
No, I mean, I suppose we could, just put in something like, compliant, written compliance with it, which would then add that, what is and isn't.
Well, or having the definition, I guess, since the policy goes on the website, hey, I think I might want to look at this book, what's the standard? And then if the standard is right there, then, okay, well, I probably won't succeed because I can't meet that standard, and then I won't make the complaint, or I will make the complaint. So, okay. All right. Any other questions? Anything else, Brian, we need to consider?
Thank you for your time. Like I said, I'm here as a resource. Anybody will be comments. I was really pleased, after I said it on this webinar, I was really pleased how compliant we already were. That really it's just a matter of having the phone accessible electronic catalogs. And ever since we moved to the Follow Destiny system, our catalogs have been searchable by anyone anywhere. So we're totally aligned with the.
And I know when I was at the middle school and we broke up the library to each of our classrooms, I had every book in my collection added to the collection. So I mean, I think a lot of classrooms may have at the middle school. I know.
Yeah, they have a sub-location field, and so you can see.
Right. Okay. So there are a few tweaks that you think that you'll come back to us with. Is that right?
Yeah, we will post a reconsideration form to the website, and then at a future board date, we will bring it back as a discussion item with teacher and principal input.
And this doesn't take effect officially until January 1st.
Right.
So we're not behind yet.
Oh, no, we're ahead.
We're ahead of the game. Okay,
Get it on record.
great.
3 months.
Okay, terrific.
Thank you.
I'm good. Anything else
Not
on this? All right, thanks
Thank you
you.
all. Thank you so much. The next discussion item I have, and I apologize, I wish I could present it to people that are in the audience tonight, but it's okay. I wanted to be able to talk about the community engagement survey. We discussed this at a previous school board meeting, and this is the company we're using, School Perceptions, to draft a community engagement input survey after the referendum failed last November. So this is close to being the final draft of this survey. And again, we're not going to go through and wordsmith this, but I want to be able to give you the purpose of each page of this survey. You can see on the front page, it has the letter to families and community members, just telling them that this is a survey. It is in response to the failed referendum. It is seeking the input from our community of what next steps we should take before making a decision. This page also shows that there will be a paper copy in every mailbox in the county. Residents may fill this out on paper form and send it in. They may also scan the QR code and take the survey in that manner. There can be additional QR codes given if there's more than one person in the household, or if there are differing opinions and want to provide a separate opinion or answers to the survey. Again, this survey is being done by a third-party vendor, which is School Perceptions. All of the surveys go back to them. None of it comes through Brown County Schools. None of the data comes to Brown County Schools. They will, once they have collected all of the data, they will come and do an actual presentation to myself with all of you at the same time. The second page shows us the demographics, and we want to know the ages of people taking the survey. We want to know if their primary residence is in Brown County, which township that they live in, if they're an employee of the corporation, do they have children in our district, and then a couple of engagement questions. And then we go into the actual financial background, and this just shows a graph stating the local school tax rate for Brown County at being 0.5787. It is the 8th lowest in the state currently. You can see that the state average is over $1.05. And then in between, you can see the surrounding schools in our area. And then we have the actual question of the data that we would like to get back, and that is on the funding plan. And we have a little bit of information here that shows the community approved the referendum of 8 cents in 2016. One of those 8 pennies goes towards adult education, and we would like to know if the community would support renewing this 8 cents on a future ballot. And then that funding, keeping at that same rate, it keeps our staff wages and our benefits currently status quo, to be able to maintain current programs and services for our students and the staffing needs. So there is the physical question: would you support renewing the current referendum to maintain programs, services, and compensation? We also have in there that it would not increase the school tax rate over the current level. It would stay at 5787. We also added a piece down here about that 1 penny going towards adult education in the Career Resource Center. We would like to collect data to see if that is supported by the community. Again, approval would not increase the current school tax rate over the current level. And then we added the third question, which is the additional funding. One other initiative that could be funded is by expanding the operational referendum, and that would be to expand the 8 pennies by 2 pennies for a total of 10 pennies. And that funding plan would go strictly to attracting and retaining staff, where we could provide competitive wages and benefits with our neighboring schools. We also put in here what that 2 pennies, because it would increase over the current school tax rate. That 2 pennies on a monthly basis for the 2023 median home value in our district is an additional $1.97 a month. It's 3 pennies over the current level for 1 acre of agricultural land, and $1.66 for every $100,000 of a commercial or rental property. So those are accurate numbers based on newly AB that has been released. I know discussion with the last meeting when we talked about this survey, there was the question of, well, let's explore, keep an open-ended item that says, well, how much would you support? Like, let's not cap it at 2 pennies. How much would you support? And I went back to school perceptions and asked them to play with that question a little bit. And it just ended up getting so convoluted, because you've got residents, you've got agriculture, and you've got rental or commercial property. And at the end of the day, people want to know how much and what's it going for. I truly believe this is the most simple way to get the data that we're requesting. I also believe that we heard the community last November, and they did not vote to support the referendum. So it feels as if though we need the referendum, we need the 8 cents to maintain, we need the 2 pennies to get a little bit above. Anything above that, I think the community told us last November was not supported. And then the last page has the cost cutting options. We did not make changes to this page since the last discussion. Again, at the end of the day, if this is not supported by the community, then I believe that the board needs some help with what is it that we are going to consider cutting across the district. And that's it. I will tell you the timeline, which is also attached here for you. Tonight is October 2nd. I am asking for an approval of this final draft to be able to finalize it with school perceptions and to be able to send it to an outside editor. We would like to send it to print the week of October 9th. It takes about 3 weeks for printing and mailing. There's a whole process of being able, we want to email the survey to our staff first. And we want to be able to help answer questions that our staff may have. And then a few days later, the survey will actually land in mailboxes, which would be scheduled around October 30th. When those start to land in the mailboxes of non-employees, we will email survey to the parents. So it gets to all of our families at about the same time. And then the survey window would be open until about November 17th. And then school perceptions, again, all of that data is coming back to them. They put all of the data together in a presentation and a report that they will present to the superintendent and the school board, which would be scheduled early December. The board really needs to make a decision if this is going on a May ballot in January. So I do believe it is timely. And I will also tell you that school perceptions, the accuracy prediction on a referendum survey in the state of Minnesota, they've never lost one. So now you got to remember, it's not winning a referendum, it's a prediction. So
They predicted accurately.
they predicted if the school district was going to win or lose accurately. They've been 100% in Minnesota, and they're at 95% accuracy for the state of Wisconsin. So he told me, like he said, based on whatever the data comes out, we're going to be able to give you a pretty good prediction if you're going to pass this or not.
Okay.
So
That's unusual in Grand County. We generally don't have polling agencies doing that for us, so I'm glad to have some kind of numbers for us to work with.
I
Yeah.
appreciate this tool.
yeah, I think it is going to be really good. I'm really glad we made the decision to go with school perceptions. They've worked really hard to make it Brown County and to try to capture what we're trying to capture. And they worked relentlessly with me and our team. So I am proud of it and excited to get the data back. It is about as final draft as you can get it. It will be on 11 by 17, folded in half, so it is 4 pages. They recommend 1,200 to 1,600 words. This is currently at 1,166 words. So it is in a sweet spot, just the way it is right now. Do you have questions?
Just clarifying, it is being mailed to every household.
Every resident in the county.
Right.
With a self-addressed envelope in case anybody would like to fill it out in paper and send it in versus doing it through a QR code. And again, we can get extra survey codes very easily. There are more than one person in a household.
Right, so if you've got a couple and one does it on paper, the other can do it online. Will we have them available like at the elementaries, or at the high school, the middle school, for people to, if they want to do paper, but they didn't get one or?
Yep, I think we will have it everywhere as we possibly can. They will be emailed to every family that we have in the district as well. Again, every staff member, we will have extra copies. The QR code that is on the specific survey is a one-time use code. So it's not like somebody like Dawn could go and do 10 of these. So they have that figured out as well.
only thing I think of is, when I was looking at the list of cost-cutting options. Guess there were two options that occurred to me that someone might think of that isn't on the list. And I know we have a place over here for comments, questions, and suggestions. Should that be just moved to the end, or do we, like it say, I wanted to add something else? Would I go back to the previous page, or?
No, I think we want those comments, questions, and suggestions on simply the funding plan, the actual question. Yeah. He strongly went against any kind of open comments other than the one that is right here for that additional.
And they could add that there, like that is comments, questions, suggestions, if you write whatever. Questions from the board? So I know you said the QR code is a one-time code. What if I got 10 surveys from the elementary to file them? Does this company know that those are all coming from the same person?
I don't know the research or the,
I'm not
algorithms
suggesting
behind
anything to
it,
that,
so I don't know those answers and how they figure that.
but being a survey company, this sort of does that. I would suspect they have some way of knowing that. Okay.
And they will be able to give us every metric that is possible and what's our margin of error. And, you know, who are staff members, who are not staff members, who say absolutely no to, I mean, all of the sample reports he's done for your schools has all of that data in it.
Right. Any other questions? Good. Very good. I like it. It's, as I said, I'm really excited. It's hard to get data for folks in Brown County to for anything we do. So I'm really eager to see and have the public help us decide what it is that we're going to do next. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to number 6, approval of the public session minutes for September 18th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any discussion? Let's do roll call.
Amy,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Vicky, yes, Doug.
Yes.
All right, number 7, we have some action needed items. The first one is a recommendation to approve the donation of $500 to the Career Resource Center from the assignment for the purposes of any area of need. Is there a motion to approve?
Absolutely.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Ms. Rita. We appreciate that.
Yes, we appreciate that. All right, roll call?
Amy,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Vicky, yes, Doug.
Yes.
All right, and the next one is pretty exciting. I know I was following this on Facebook, but the recommendation to approve the donation of $12,318.40 to Sprunica Elementary from their walk-a-thon donors. Is there a motion to approve?
So good.
A second.
Any discussion? Well, I know they worked really hard for this, so I'm really excited about it, and I'm glad I think they exceeded their goal. I saw the little chart, the thermometer, there you go. And yeah, so that's really exciting. So congratulations to Sprunica. I know that's a lot. I've done that work before, and it's hard work to raise money, that amount of money. So that's great. Any other comments, suggestions? All right. Let's do roll call.
Amy,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Vicky, yeah, Doug.
Yes.
Number 3 is also exciting. A recommendation to approve the out-of-state professional leave request from Emily Tracy to attend the TED Women Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, October 9th to the 13th. That's coming up. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll second.
And any discussion?
I just want to sincerely thank the board for considering this. Again, Brown County Schools is not paying for this. TED is actually covering the cost of the flight, of the hotel, and the actual conference. So this is the conference that officially qualifies me to allow Brown County Schools to host a TEDx event, which will happen in May. And just really excited again for this opportunity for our kids and our staff and our school community to participate in that. It will be the only public school district in the state of Indiana that gets this official stage that's been licensed through TEDx. So I've been asked to be interviewed at 10 Women and about Brown County Schools specifically. So a little nervous, but really, really excited to be able to put Brown County Schools on a national level.
I'm excited. Any other comments or discussion? All right, let's do roll call.
Amy,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
All right. Well, have a good time.
Thank you.
I want pictures.
I want video.
I want the video too. Okay, number 4, recommendation to approve the out-of-state professional leave request for the World of Work Professional Development Opportunity in San Diego, California, October 31st to November 2nd, 2023. For the following staff members: Emily Tracy, Christy Reitzman, Trent Austin, Paige Burton, Hannah Newland, Jim McFall, Cassandra Pontius, Amanda Condra, Emily Llewellyn, Matthew Huffman, Rebecca Bryan, and Donna Allen. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to add, there's an error on the agenda. That list also includes Megan Connolly, who's right under, and
Oh,
then that recommendation is the next item. So add Megan up there with your list.
That was weird looking.
yeah, I saw that down there and I thought I just didn't read the next one.
It's okay. So I want to thank the board for just always supporting the opportunity to take our team to see innovative schools. This is the same school district that we were able to take our K-8 teachers last year and learn about the world of work and the schools at Cajon Valley. So we specifically did not take high school last year. Of just a lot of different things going on, and wanted to wait for the high school to have just a different tour, a different experience. So this team represents our CTE, it represents our core content, it represents our TED team with Cassie and Amanda. It also represents a special education educator and our school counselor. So I feel like we have a really diverse team to be able to go out there and learn about this work and what does it look like in the high school. I've said 100 times that for so many years, we waited till kids get into high school to help them figure out what they're good at, what they want to do, what they value, and career exploration. So we've made it intentional for the last 2 years to start K-8 and have a really good foundation for this work. And now we got kids coming up to the high school. So it's time to see what it could look like. So really excited to be able to take this team out there. Again, Brown County Schools is not paying for this trip. This is grant funded through the 3E grant.
what are the 3? Should I ask?
It is career engagement, career exploration, and career experiences. So exploration is, or engagement is K through 5, exploration is 6 through 8, and experience is 9 through 12.
Okay, I've heard that term a lot. I can never remember what it stands for, so thank you. All right, I think that was discussion. Anything else from the board? All right, let's do a vote.
Amy,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Vicky, yes, Doug.
Yes.
All right, number 5. So now I'll start with Megan Conley. She goes up at the top. And we have recommendation to approve the Educational Services Center wall project, final bid from Driftwood Builders for $498,400. This is paid out of our current funds. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, is there discussion?
Yeah, I have some discussion about the bids and I guess the rationale for choosing Driftwood Builders. If you remember, Michael Chablis came and presented to the board quite some time ago about the scope of this project. We hired him as the architect, and when he sent out this project for bid, we had 6 different bids. The lowest was $460,000, but did not seem feasible because they could not start on any of the work until after January. Due to our licensing requirements, we have to start as soon as we possibly can. And then Driftwood Builders was the next lowest bid at $498,400. They are confident that they can do the work in 90 days. And then bids 3 through 6 were above $612,000, clear up to $763,000. So those bids were not in consideration. So the recommendation from our architect is to be able to accept the bid from Driftwood Builders Incorporated for $498,400. There is a $50,000 contingency plan built into that. So if that contingency is not spent, again, that potentially could go down to $448,400. And again, we would use our current bond money for the scope of this project.
Right. Michael, I know you're here. Do you want to address the board? Anything you want us to know?
Just if y'all could sign the 2 contracts that I dropped off this morning, then I can make arrangements to give it to the bidder and Driftwood tomorrow and get them to sign it.
And so, just so the board knows, the board, you will not be personally signing the contract. You would be approving tonight for me, giving me permission to sign that contract to give to Michael. So just so you know, you aren't signing the official contract. This recommendation on the board is to approve this final bid, and then that approval tells me I can sign the contract.
Doug?
Originally, the current or your estimated was 342,000 when you first presented that to us. And now we're at 498,000. What was the difference?
Well, I added the 50,000 contingency fund just to make it go smoother with change orders. And I think we ran into some more issues that we weren't aware of.
Such as
expansion joints. I assumed that the expansion joints in the walls every 90 feet were working, but I soon discovered that they weren't working. That they were, in some cases, filled in with mortar, feeding the brick, so they weren't expanding and contracting. So we're going to have to cut all of those up and redo the joints. It was also, once I measured all the heights of the wall, I found out there was more below the ground of the brick wall than I thought, especially on the school side. That's about maybe 16 or 18 inches. And then part of that has to come out of the asphalt. We have to cut the asphalt out, dig it down, clean it, waterproof it, put it in the build back, and then re-asphalt.
so there's a lot more demo.
Yeah.
Because you have to put the joints out there. Right?
Good news is we finally got the state right away approval.
So we needed that before you could even
Oh,
begin,
yeah,
right?
right. Well, I told them I was going to bid it, and I hope they had it ready before we really start.
So the higher bids, the ones in the 600s and more,
Right.
What's the difference between this bid and those bids?
Besides the fact that they're higher, I think they probably have some subcontractors that charge more. I talked to one man that does the refinishing work in Bloomington. He had told me originally he gave me a sheet of paper and he gave me a proposal for this about $60,000. His bidders came at $230,000. I don't know why, but evidently Driftwood has someone who does the same work.
And you said that you rejected the lowest bid because it couldn't meet your timeline?
Well,
Tell us
they-
about the timeline.
They submitted their bid with 180 days instead of 90 days,
Okay,
or instead of 120. And then when I called them to discuss it, they said they couldn't even start the project until January. Well, starting a project in January, February, March is gonna be difficult to get the work done, and the playground is to be done next June.
In the summer, yeah.
Right.
Our grant will
So-
expire this, like, last week this year, so September of 2024. So last month.
let me just repeat that. So, we have a playground grant and that's,
Playground grant looks, well, that grant, the timeline, the ending for that grant would be September of 2024. So we need to make sure that we're, the playground doesn't take that long to put in, but they run into delays too, with supply and all kinds of things. So it was getting, that plan is for the playground to go in next summer. We just need to have the whole summer. We can't just say it's gonna be August.
Yeah, plus the fall is one of the best times to build. It's usually drier. The drier, non-freezing weather will be really good for those applications.
And the playground could go earlier, depending on the workflow of the
Right.
contract there, so it's one to be ready as
Right.
as soon as possible.
so that's what I was gonna ask, does the wall have to be done before the playground goes in?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and grading and a new drainage plan and fencing redone.
But that part is separate, that's in a separate grant. that
Yeah,
you're
that's the
doing.
one in ROI, the ready to use this grant.
So we're talking about sort of the intersection of these two grants that is.
We have that one money for the wall, but-
Other questions, discussion from the board? All right, well, we have a motion on the board to approve. Are we ready to vote? Okay, Amy? Yes. Carol?
Yes.
Vicky? Yes. Don?
Yes.
All right. That is approved, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Excited. All right. Moving on to number 6, recommendation to compensate Elizabeth Hill for providing training in regards to Brown County Schools Health and Wellness Department through November 21st, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll second.
And any discussion?
Yeah, I really appreciate Liz sticking through. If you remember, she officially resigned at the end of last year. And when we had a hard time finding a new corporation nurse, so she stayed on to help us through a transition and until we hired somebody. And she has been just incredibly impactful at training Amy in this new role and ensuring that we're just set up for success moving forward. So I know we can't do it forever, but I appreciate being able to have her up through Thanksgiving. And I do believe it's gonna set us off on a really, really good start.
Any other discussion? All right, let's vote. Amy? Yes. Carol?
Yes.
Vicky? Yes. Don?
Yes.
All right, number 8 is our consent agenda items for personnel. We start with separations with Brown County High School head wrestling coach and baseball coach Justice Guerrero, separating as of September 21st, 2023. Through the last one, which is a transfer of Brown County Middle School 5th grade girls basketball coach Heather Still is moving to 6th grade girls basketball coach effective October 2nd, which is today. This is a replacement for Dave Parker. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I second.
Any discussion? All right, let's vote. Amy? Yes. Carol?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
All right, next is our superintendent's report.
don't have much for report tonight. I appreciate being able to present information on the community engagement survey. To be able to discuss the policy on House Bill 1447 and presentation from Dawn on the budget upcoming adoption. We will adopt the budget at the next meeting, and then getting this wall moved forward. So I just thank you for letting me fill a board meeting with the exciting stuff.
That's all good news. All right, after that is a board update. Anybody have anything going on?
Yes, I communicated with Dennis, which he will respond to. I had a concern about when our students are leaving our corporation and our community on buses to either like go to Louisville like we've done in the past or Cincinnati, is if they were going on a charter bus from a company or if they were going on our bus due to that horrible accident in New York with the bands going to band camp and the adults that died and stuff. So, Dennis.
I would say it would depend on what the criteria of the trip is, how far it is. Luggage, overnight, not overnight. Those things be considered. I would also think you want to do a lot of homework beforehand. As far as research on whatever company you're going to use. And compare that with what your insurance requirements would be. Whatever legal advice you get on whatever contract you want to make with that company. As far as drug testing, driver qualifications, equipment history, those kind of things. There'd be not an insurmountable amount of homework to do, but it would take some time to make sure that you make the right choice. And then you go from there.
One of the trips that I went on, we just said Cincinnati, were day trips, so they were like a long day, but they were day trips. That's why, because they were out of state, that's why I was asking.
Out of state, you go about 200 miles out of state. Pretty good distance. And then if you go with a special purpose bus, go away. Depending on the number of people you have, and the amount of cargo.
Thank you.
Right, anything else on that? I know that Carol, Stephanie, and I and Emily went to the Indiana State School Board, Indiana School Board Association, ISBA, 2-day conference. And we were talking to school board members from all around the state and learning a lot from all of them. So I really appreciate the opportunity to get to go to that when people say you go to school board school. And I was like, yes, we go to school board school so that we can learn how to be better school board members. And I think it's really important. And I really want to commend our board for, we all have full-time jobs and it's really hard for us to take off time to do those kinds of things. But I really appreciate, everybody trying to do that when they can. And we can't always all do it every year, but it's a really great learning opportunity. I know I've learned a lot. So, anything else for the good of cause? No. All right. Let's. It's a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.